It started with a flickering light. It started with a flickering light in the hallway. That kind of soft stutter that made you pause mid-step. It had been doing that for weeks. A quiet complaint from the house like it was tired of being ignored. I told myself I'd fix it. Then I told my husband. He said, "I'll get to it." He always says that. 3 weeks passed, then 5. Eventually, the light gave up completely. Like most things in this house, it got tired of waiting. He was gone again. Some leadership conference in Phoenix, or maybe Palm Springs. Honestly, I stopped keeping track after his third working weekend. This year, I found someone on an app. The reviews said things like punctual, quiet, respectful. That felt safe. That felt easy. He arrived on a Tuesday. Mid-morning, no rush in his step. Wore a gray long sleeve, sleeves rolled, tool belt hanging like it belonged there. He said my name like a memory. Soft. Careful, like he wasn't sure I still answered to it. I pointed to the hallway. "It's the light," I said. Like that explained everything. He nodded once, said, "Mind if I check the panel first?" I led him down the hallway, realizing I hadn't walked this slowly in my own home in a long time. I usually rushed through, eyes forward, heart clenched. He moved with ease, not like he owned the place. Just like he respected it. He crouched near the breaker, hands steady, honestly, like he'd done this 1,000 times and still cared about getting it right. The silence sat thick between us, but it didn't feel heavy. Just present. I leaned against the wall, arms crossed. He looked up once. Just once. And something passed between us like a breath we both forgot we were holding. "It's the wiring," he finally said. "Old houses carry too much without asking." I nodded. "Yeah," I said. "I know the feeling." He didn't smile. Didn't need to. He just kept working. And I just kept watching, wondering when I started needing strangers to see me. When he stood up, he tested the light. It flickered once, then glowed steady, warm, reliable. "Should hold now," he said. "Unless the whole system's tired." I laughed softly. "The whole system is always tired." He raised an eyebrow. Not a question. Just a mirror. I offered him water. He took it. Drank it slow, like he appreciated the gesture more than the drink. And then he left. Just like that. No lingering glances. No excuses to stay. But something about the hallway felt warmer when he was gone. Like the house missed him as soon as the door shut. The next day, the faucet in the guest bathroom started dripping. It had been fine. Or maybe I just stopped noticing. I stared at it for a while. Then texted him. "It's me again. The tired house. Think you're free?" He replied within 5 minutes. "I'll come by tomorrow." He didn't ask what was broken. He didn't have to. This time, I made coffee before he arrived. Set 2 mugs out like it wasn't a big deal. Like I hadn't spent 10 minutes choosing which ones felt casual. When he walked in, I swear the room stilled again. Same soft shirt, same calm eyes, same man who looked at things like they mattered. "You're back," I said. He shrugged. "You called." This time he worked in the bathroom. I sat on the closed toilet seat, watching him like a woman who couldn't remember the last time someone showed up just because she asked. We talked more. A little. He told me he used to be married. Said she left because he never noticed when she flickered. That word caught me off guard. Flickered. Like something in me recognized the sound of it. Honestly. I asked if he ever missed her. He said, "Sometimes I miss who I thought I was with her." I nodded. "I think I miss who I thought I'd be, too." When he finished the faucet, we didn't talk about payment. He just accepted the coffee, and sat with me in the quiet kitchen. And when he left, he didn't say goodbye. Just looked at me. Held my gaze. Like he knew something was changing and didn't want to name it too soon. The third time he came, it was raining again. I didn't text him. Didn't need to. He knocked softly. Said, "Was in the area. Thought I'd check on the light." I didn't believe him. But I opened the door. This time when our fingers touched, I didn't pull away. When he looked at me, I didn't look down. "I haven't been sleeping," I said. Like that explained why I felt hollow. He stepped closer. Just enough that I felt his warmth, but not enough to call it anything. "Honestly. I think you needed someone to see it," he whispered. "Before you burned out completely." I don't remember moving. Just the feeling of falling forward into something too soft to stop. The kiss was slow. Like a question. Like a prayer you weren't sure you should say aloud. His hands were gentle. His breath warm. No rush. Just reverence. When he pulled away he didn't speak. He didn't need to. I already knew this wasn't forever. But it was something. And sometimes that's more than enough. He never came back after that. Not with excuses. Not with explanations. Maybe it was guilt. Maybe it was grace. I didn't reach out. But I walked through the hallway a little slower. Past the mirror a little straighter. My husband came home the following week. Same suitcase. Same half smile. Same eyes that never really looked. We ate dinner in silence. I listened to the sound of his fork instead of his words. He didn't ask about the light. He never noticed that it glowed warmer now. I think he forgot it ever flickered. There's no grand ending. No revelation. Just a woman who was reminded, in one unexpected moment, that she still existed, that she could still be seen without screaming. The light still works, the faucet doesn't drip. The hallway is quiet, but every time I pass it, something inside me hums. Not broken, not whole, just alive, in a way it hadn't been for a very, very long time.
It's strange how things feel louder after someone leaves. Not actual noise, but that humming, buzzing quiet that fills the corners when no one's looking. After he left, the house felt too neat. The kind of neat that doesn't breathe. The kind of quiet that doesn't ask questions. Just waits for someone to admit they missed the mess. I didn't hear from him, didn't expect to. But I checked my phone more than I want to admit. Every time the screen lit up, my breath paused. Every time it wasn't him, which was every time. I swallowed something I didn't have a name for. The light stayed steady, the faucet stayed quiet. Everything stayed fixed except the part of me that felt like it had been opened just wide enough to hurt. 2 weeks passed. My husband was home, in the logistical sense. He moved through rooms like someone tracing the outline of a life he hadn't been inside for years. We talked logistics, groceries, bills, his mother's birthday dinner, but we didn't talk about the space between us, the way the bed stayed too big, the way my laughter never quite reached my chest anymore. He noticed I wore lipstick one morning, said it looked nice, then asked if we had more coffee pods. I wanted to tell him I hadn't worn lipstick in months, that I forgot what it felt like to press color onto something that had only known quiet for so long, but I just nodded, went back to slicing an apple I didn't feel like eating. I saw him again, by accident. Maybe. It was a Thursday, late afternoon. I had stepped into the hardware store for batteries, for Vane. He was in aisle 4, holding a box of screws like it had asked him a difficult question. I froze. He didn't. He looked up, saw me, didn't smile, just nodded once. A quiet acknowledgement, a shared moment like an old song playing faintly in the background. He walked over slowly, no rush, no shame. Said no. Shame. You okay? He asked, the same way he always had, not as a formality, but like he wanted the real answer. I shrugged. You ever feel like your life's in a language you forgot how to speak? He chuckled softly, not at me, with me. Yeah, he said. All the time. We didn't talk long. Just enough for my heart to remember how his voice softened when he wasn't pretending. He didn't ask to see me. I didn't ask for anything either. But when he said goodbye, his hand brushed mine as if by accident, and my skin remembered him more vividly than my mind wanted to. That night, my husband was in a good mood. He had landed a new client, opened a bottle of wine, tried to be charming like he used to be. He kissed my neck like a man following a script he barely remembered. I let him. Not because I wanted to, but because part of me wanted to know if I could still disappear with my eyes open. After he slept quickly, mouth open, one hand still on his phone, notifications blinking like tiny sirens no one responded to. I lay awake for hours. The ceiling didn't blink, the light didn't flicker. But something in me did. The next day I sent the message without drafting it first. I don't have anything broken, but I could use a cup of coffee. He replied within a minute. I'll bring the sugar. When he arrived, he didn't bring tools. Just a small paper bag with 2 muffins and silence that felt like it already knew me. We didn't talk much, didn't need to. The kitchen was warm. The chairs creaked softly under the weight of truth. We weren't ready to speak aloud. He asked how I was. I said, still here. He nodded. Like that was a brave answer. I don't know if this is a love story. I don't even know if I believe in those anymore, but I know what it felt like to be seen not for who I used to be or who I pretended to be, but for who I was right there. Mug in hand, lipstick smudged, barefoot and breathing. When he left that day, he didn't kiss me, but his hand lingered on the small of my back just long enough for me to remember that I was made of skin and not silence. There's no big ending here, no affair, no scandal, just a woman learning what it feels like to be awake in her own life again. One sip at a time, one flicker, one quiet steady light. The next time we met, it wasn't planned. I was driving midday, aimless errands stacked like noise on a to-do list I kept rewriting but never finishing. I saw him standing outside a cafe, not one I go to, not one we talked about. He looked different in daylight, softer somehow. Ooh. Like the kind of man who listens when someone says, "I'm tired," and doesn't try to fix it, just sits with you until it passes. I almost drove past. Almost, but something in me pressed the brake without asking. He hadn't seen me yet, was holding a coffee, talking to no one, just watching traffic like it meant something. I parked, took a breath I didn't realize I needed, walked toward him like the world wasn't spinning. He saw me when I was 3 feet away, didn't flinch, didn't smile, just said, "You found the quiet spot." I nodded. I think I've been looking for it longer than I realized. We didn't sit inside, just walked, paper cups in hand, shoes crunching sidewalk salt, late spring air brushing past us like it was afraid to disturb something delicate. He didn't ask about my marriage. I didn't mention his ex. We talked about books neither of us had finished. The smell of rain on pavement. Why coffee tastes better from paper cups. At one point he asked me if I ever felt like I lived in a room that didn't actually exist. I stopped walking. "What do you mean?" He shrugged, looked at his cup. "Like you built a life around you that people can visit, but no one really lives there." "Not even you." I didn't answer. I didn't need to. We ended up at the park. Empty on weekdays. Benches that faced nothing but old trees and forgotten swings. We sat, too close to be strangers, too far to be anything else. He took off his jacket, offered it. I said I wasn't cold. He laid it across the bench anyway. "I don't know what this is," I said. The word surprised even me. He didn't look at me when he answered. "Me neither, but it doesn't feel wrong." Boo! I turned toward him then slowly. Like turning to face a storm you thought had passed. His eyes met mine, tired, kind, careful. "I want to kiss you again," he said. He didn't reach for me, didn't move, just said it like a truth that had nowhere else to go. "I think about it," I said quietly. "All the time we didn't kiss. Not then, maybe because we both knew we would, eventually, and maybe that made it heavier than if we had. That night, I didn't go home right away, drove around the neighborhood twice, just so I didn't walk into silence too fast. When I got back, my husband was asleep on the couch, TV playing low, half a glass of wine on the table, phone in his lap. He looked peaceful, untouched. I watched him for a while, wondered what he would say if I told him I hadn't felt like his wife in 3 years. I turned the TV off, covered him with a blanket, went upstairs and stood in the bathroom longer than necessary. I looked at myself in the mirror, not for flaws, not for lipstick smudges, but for signs of anything. There were none. I dreamed that night of the bench in the park, of the kiss we didn't share, of his voice saying my name like it wasn't background noise. I woke up wanting to cry but didn't know where to place it, so I showered, got dressed, folded laundry like a woman who wasn't unraveling. I didn't hear from him for 4 days. Then 5. Then I stopped checking my phone on purpose. But every time I passed the hallway light, or turned the faucet, or touched the doorknob he once adjusted with steady hands, I felt something stir in me like breath caught beneath a floorboard. This isn't about infidelity. Not really. It's about how quiet the world becomes when you stop being seen. It's about how the smallest moments, a glance, a word, a bench, can shift your entire interior without making a sound. It's about a kiss that didn't ask for permission, but also didn't demand forgiveness. It's about waking up. The next time we touched, it was raining again. Of course it was. The kind of slow rain that doesn't rush anything, just falls, soft and steady, like a confession too gentle to interrupt. He texted that morning. "I drove past your street today, didn't mean to. Wasn't sure if I should say anything." I stared at the message for 5 whole minutes before replying. I think I wanted you to. No emojis, no pretense, just truth. He replied, I'm nearby. Do you want me to stop in? I don't remember typing yes. But somehow, there he was again on my front step, dripping with silence. Dripping with silence. Soaked in restraint. I let him in without speaking. He didn't need an invitation. He already knew his way in, not just to the house but to something quieter. We stood in the hallway for a moment, both of us unsure if this was real or just memory repeating itself. His jacket was wet. I took it gently, hung it on the hook next to a coat my husband hadn't worn in months. I didn't think I'd see you again, I said. He looked at me, hands in his pockets like someone afraid to reach for something they couldn't give back. I told myself not to come, he said. Didn't work. He said, didn't work. We didn't move, not right away, just stood quiet and aching. The kiss came without permission, not from him, from me. I leaned in, slowly, not out of fear, out of reverence, because some things don't get asked for, they just get lived. His hands were on my waist the way someone steadies a broken shelf, carefully, knowing it might give. There was no urgency, no frantic motion, just mouths learning the shape of each other's silence. He kissed me like he was answering a question I hadn't asked out loud but had been whispering for years. I didn't think about my husband, not once. Not because I didn't care, but because I'd already disappeared from that story long before this one began. We didn't go upstairs. We didn't undress. We didn't need to. That kiss and the one after that, were enough to remind me I still had a pulse beneath the dust. At some point we sat on the floor of the living room, our backs against the couch, his arm around my shoulder, my cheek against his chest. No talking, no planning, just breathing. Like we were relearning how to exist without shrinking. When he stood to leave, I didn't ask him to stay. He didn't ask if I'd be okay. He just looked at me like he already knew what this would cost but also knew what it was worth. That night, my husband came home late again. He smelled like steakhouse and cologne, took off his shoes at the door, hung his suit jacket on the hook next to the one I had hung earlier. He didn't notice it was different. He never notices. He kissed my cheek like I was made of wallpaper. Asked if I had eaten. I said I wasn't hungry. We went to bed like always, me facing the wall, him snoring softly before I could even close my eyes. But I didn't cry. I just lay there, eyes open, heart full of something dangerous and honest, something that didn't have a name but had weight, heat, memory. I don't know what happens next. Maybe nothing, maybe everything, but here's what I do know. A kiss can be louder than a scream. A touch can be more permanent than a vow. And sometimes what feels like undoing is just a softer kind of becoming. I'm not asking for redemption or validation. I just wanted to remember how it feels to be wanted without having to vanish first. The light still works. The faucet doesn't leak. The door still closes without sound. But now, when I move through this house, I do so with the memory of a man who didn't try to save me. He just saw me. And for a moment, that was more than enough.